I work for SalesLoft. If you've got a sales team that sells the things you make, check out SalesLoft. It'll help them sell more stuff and make more money, which is always good for business. I was thanking my boss for letting me write this thing in Elixir, and which I've been wanting to do for a long time. And he's a great boss. His name is Mike. It's wonderful to work for him. Excellent, excellent guy. I was expecting him to not take all the credit, but say, you're welcome. And, you did well. But instead he said, well, thank you for not dumping all the weight of the decision on me. And I had this light bulb moment of, wait a minute. I did try to think through his thought process when I tried to convince him of this, but there were aspects of it I didn't foresee, and which I happened to, by accident, did the right thing and it worked out. So hopefully I want to share some of those light bulb moments with you that you can have more success than, well, the same success but not by accident. So I'm going to share a little bit of how I prepared, what I did not say, what I did say, and then what I did. So how I prepared, I've been interested in Elixir for a while, writing Ruby at my job. So first I had a little script on my laptop that was in Ruby. And hold on, let me start I don't see time anywhere. Let me start a little timer here so I've got an idea. Or I can just look at the time here every now and then. I have a little script on my laptop that renames files just for my own personal admin. I use it every week. It was done in Ruby, and I redid that in Elixir. So very low-hanging fruit, a couple hours on a Saturday, horrible, all one module, not actual, using any fancy Elixir features. It's just a script to rename files. But I did something. Then there was another thing at work that I wrote in Ruby, and all it does, it interacts with one API. It just takes, actually, if anybody from CodeShip, if you're listening, we had to write a service to go, okay, if I push a branch to CodeShip, that CI is going to run the tests. If I push again to the same branch, it's still going to keep running the old one all the way through and run the new one all the way through. So we had to manually write a thing that interacts with the CodeShip API to make it better, which we shouldn't have had to, but it exists. It's important, but it's not critical. If this thing goes down, somebody at SalesLoft will feel the pain and fix it within a couple hours or 24 hours max. It's important, but I wrote it, so I didn't really need anybody's permission to go rewrite it in Elixir. So I did. I needed to get the pull request approved that deletes all the Ruby code and replaces it. And I did and got some really valuable feedback. And okay, let me stop you there. If you find out that SalesLoft already uses Elixir, you're going to say, whoa, Devet. You had it really easy. Where I work, there's no Elixir at all. But generally, other projects have come up, and most of our code is Ruby code. Most of our teams usually write Ruby. And so I have been faced with situations where a new project is coming up, and I get to choose the tech stack and get buy-in from other team members, and I end up choosing Ruby because, well, it's going to help me meet the deadline, and it's what I know. So there still was a situation where, okay, a little bit fighting uphill to get this thing. I want to do this thing in Elixir just because I want to, not because I needed to. So yeah, rewrote that thing in Elixir, and it went well. Then later, a thing came up that this thing was actually a new thing with an actual deadline. And so let's get into what I did not say. I did not tell my boss, hey, it's going to be faster. It's going to run, because it didn't need to be faster. So let me ask you, how many people here have seen a switch to Ruby from another language? Either you as a programmer, you stopped writing another language and you switched to Ruby, or your company as a whole slowly started shifting over to Ruby, or you've, I don't know, seen a client used to have somebody else build them things in something else and then switch to Ruby. Have you seen a switch to Ruby? Anybody seen a switch to Ruby in any capacity? Have you been coding since before you did Ruby? Okay, cool, I see some people. How many of you came from a language that was executing the code slower than Ruby? 2. Okay, well, what language did you come from? PHP? Okay, fair enough. And any others? Java. Wouldn't Java execute the code faster than Ruby? Maybe it was slower in your case. But it sounds like the rest of you who raised your hand the first time and not the second time, did you hear what you just said? What I heard you say is that Ruby was fast enough that the execution speed didn't really play into your decision. Did I hear you wrong? Is that not what anybody said? Everybody agree on that? Okay. So telling your boss that Ruby is going to be faster is probably not gonna really matter. For this thing I was writing, we didn't need to be faster than Ruby. So yeah, be aware of that. You don't get into the technicalities, and that's the main purpose, I think, of my talk today. Is I see a lot of programmers, we love to geek speak about the technical capabilities of Elixir, and if I have time at the end of the talk, I might just fill the rest of the time with that. Or somebody just got me talking about the technical capabilities of Elixir during the last break. And we enjoy talking about it, but when you're talking to a stakeholder of a piece of software that's going to own it, and you're asking them to exchange dollars or rands for code, you have to consider their perspective. And faster execution time might not matter to them. So that's what I did not say. So what I did say was I said, okay, well, if we do this thing in Elixir now, our team will gain the expertise. We will know how to build things in Elixir so that if in the future we need to build something that's real time or build some notification system or we need to build something that updates things on the screen in real time, then we will have those skills. And kind of a weak argument, because you could just say, well, we'll learn it later if we need it. But I said that, and it worked in the end. The other thing I said was well, I think we'll get more programmer engagement. I've heard a lot of people here talking about finding Ruby devs in Cape Town and how it's hard and how there's not any extra devs and how so-and-so or so-and-so are taking all the devs. And then so-and-so is in the circle and they say, no, you think we're taking all the devs. We're also struggling to hire enough people. I can guarantee you there are a lot of senior Ruby programmers who, I'm not a senior dev, but we all who are interested in Elixir and writing Ruby, we still enjoy Ruby. Ruby's still great, but if 2 jobs were all equal, they both paid the same, they both had the same kind of culture, but the one of them said, hey, we do only Ruby all the time, and the other one said we do some Elixir and some Ruby, I would probably lean towards doing some Elixir because it's cool and fun and interesting. And for the hiring and engaging our current programmers, and that it was real, it worked for me. I work from home, and when I was building this thing in Elixir, if my eyes shot open at 6 a.m. and the kids are still asleep and my wife is still asleep, I would quickly jump out of bed and run to my computer and start coding because I want to get in that extra hour of quiet, and this thing is fun. I'm enjoying this. This is exciting. So the programmer engagement thing was real. The last thing is what I did, which I didn't even, this seemed to be one of the biggest pieces, and I almost didn't do this, is that I just started writing code without anybody's permission. So when I first heard about the requirements, when I first heard what we're going to build, it's not a huge thing. Interact with this API, get data from this API, get data from that API, make some decisions, change some data, and push it up to this other API. When I heard what we're building, I just immediately started writing code. I said, okay, I'm going to write an API client for the first one with tests. I'm going to API client for the second one with tests. I'm going to write code that we can keep. And my concern was what this is going to look like is that when I start to bring the decision before the team, of, hey, my suggestion is we do this in Elixir. My concern was I'm going to get some pushback on saying, hey, well, why are you bringing the decision to us if you've already made the decision? You're kind of running ahead and now asking us to come in later. So I was the only full-time dev on that project, so that did help. I didn't force somebody else to start writing Elixir against their will. But I did force Salesloft to, well, didn't force, but push hard. Salesloft now needs to own this Elixir code and maintain it and hire somebody to update it or whatever. And that was the piece that my boss thanked me for. Because think about it from his perspective. Think worst case scenario. Now we've got a really good culture at Salesloft when things go wrong. It's very important for us to have a blameless culture, that if something goes wrong, we get into a room and we say, okay, this is a blameless retro. Let's get the facts straight of what happened, and then let's just get that all out there without blaming anybody, without pointing fingers, and then let's figure out, okay, what are we going to change? What are we going to implement to make sure this doesn't happen again? But still, you can be in that room, being the one who screwed it up, I've been there, and you still feel bad. You still feel like, I'm costing everybody's time in this meeting. I'm costing all of that other time to fix the thing. My boss naturally would look at this situation. Here's the vet asking me, hey, can I do this in Elixir? And he has to weigh this cost of, okay, if this project becomes way past deadline, we've run way over the deadline, and it's not even halfway done, then what? Then he's in that room going, okay, what happened? And he has to feel bad thinking, well, I said yes to Elixir, and I probably shouldn't have. It probably would have been more productive if we stuck to what we know. But because of how I presented it to him, saying, hey, I've already written most of this, here's my suggestion of what we should build, and here's 90% of the code, he didn't have to take that risk. He would never have to be that person to say, well, yeah, we're way past deadline, and I guess part of the issue is I said yes to Elixir just so that the vet can have fun. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts. That's how it happened. That's how we got there, and how it was said yes to do this thing in Elixir. And yeah, I enjoyed it. And yes, it would have been done in less time in Ruby because I already knew Ruby. And all of the features where Elixir is more productive, as in doing real-time changing things on the screen, or WebSockets, or building a server that makes a response in less than a microsecond, none of those were requirements of this project. But I enjoyed it, and I got my boss to say yes, so hopefully I've helped you along the way to have that difficult conversation and get your boss to say yes, maybe for Elixir or maybe for some other language you're excited about. So any questions?